Have you ever been asked, I don't know how you're doing it. How do you even do it all? You're superhuman. Oh, you're such a super mom. Oh my goodness, I could never. I could never. Well, I hear that very often, and I hear that from a number of mamas that I am connected with, mompreneurs, working mothers. And I heard it even most recently on an audience question that was submitted. So today's episode is dedicated to that mama who submitted a question about how to manage, how to balance the day to day of our lives. And I want to share 3 tips. This is Nicole in the middle of editing this podcast episode. And I realized I did not share that I'm not a superhuman. If it wasn't already obvious, I'm not a superhuman, super mom, just a mama entrepreneur just trying to do my best. And I'm simply sharing some routines that I try to implement. The third one, I'm still working on, and you're about to find out about that. So while I hear it all the time with folks asking, how do you do it? I don't most of the time, but I do my best. I do my best. Back to the episode. That are still pretty young. And one of my greatest joys in life is being their mother. When I look at them, when they're peacefully sleeping after a full day of wreaking havoc across the entire house, and everything looks like a tornado blew for the second time or third time that day, I just think to myself, oh God, I thank you. I am so blessed and so grateful to be these kids' mothers. For anyone who has carried a child, cared for a child, is raising a child, you understand just the challenges that come with being a parent, but also the incredible rewards that come with motherhood. But as the listener who submitted a question about, well, how are you balancing, right? How are you trying to navigate that journey of motherhood? And this particular listener is transitioning back to the workforce after being a stay-at-home mom, which is a million jobs in itself. Can we just take a moment for stay-at-home moms? If there was a salary which should be paid to stay at home moms, you are a daycare worker, you are the cook, or chef, depending on what your levels are. You are the laundry lady. You are, I mean, what aren't you, right? Hello and welcome. My name is Nicole Guanzura, and I am, as I already told you, I told you a little bit of who I am: mom, wife, early career development strategist, and passionate about women's ministry. And you are listening to Wellness with EAC's podcast. On this podcast, we are talking about career wellness. We're also talking about our faith journeys and how that intermingles and affects our personal and professional journeys. On today's episode, we are specifically talking about wellness in motherhood. You may have heard in previous episodes, or if not, this is the first time you're hearing it, I have 2 tiny humans. And at the end of the day, you're just thinking about, well, keep these tiny humans alive, whether it's 1 or 2 or however many, you're trying to keep all of this together. And so shout out to you if you're a stay-at-home mom. Shout out to specifically the listener who submitted this question. I'm so excited for you. Can't wait to hear about what that transition looks like for you. So I want to talk about the 3 tips that I think about when really embracing wellness and motherhood. It's not easy, especially for my kids. They have two different personalities. I have a little girl and a little boy, and they have two very different personalities, a couple of years in between them. So each time I became a mother, it was a different adjustment. And one of the major ways, if you've ever exchanged a text message with me, and you're saying sorry for the late response, or even in an email, one of the first things I'm going to say right back to you is that's absolutely fine. Grace is the name of the game. I repeat, grace is the name of the game. That's how I operate, and that is what I return in favor back to you. One of the first things I recommend for you, mama, as you're getting ready to transition back into the workforce is to have so much grace for yourself. You have been, for however long you've been out of the workforce, you have been nurturing and developing other skills that you might not even think directly translate to your resume, but they really do. You think about the time, sheer time management of the day, right? Scheduling and having to prioritize things, scheduling your life around nap times and play dates and meal times and getting the home ready, whatever that might look like. Even if you have a nanny to help you, even if you have a partner that's going to come and help you, you're still managing a number of things. So I hope that you're taking those skills that you have developed as a mom and translating those directly onto your resume, because they are so valuable. And as someone recently gave me the advice, I want you to be so unapologetic about the skills and experiences you bring to the table, and give yourself grace as you're thinking about, well, how do I talk about that? How do I even think about leaving my kids? I've been everything they know for such a long time. Now, all of a sudden, that is about to shift. I'm going to give the nanny more hours with them, or they're going to enroll in some kind of daycare, or maybe they're not in daycare anymore and they're going to elementary school. Hooray! Congratulations. You have reared them enough to get them to that stage. And now you're going to shift to the next level of that. And you should be so proud of it. So in all things, give yourself grace. Take it one step at a time. It's not going to be perfect. The job market is a little wonky, but when has it actually never been all that wonky, with the exception of certain periods of time? But it still takes a lot of effort. You may not get that role on the very first try, or it might be frustrating kind of navigating, okay, well, you know what? I've got to schedule this interview. I've got to do this thing. I've got to do this thing. One day at a time, one breath at a time. Heck, sometimes you just got to do 1 hour at a time as you are navigating that path. And then the next tip that I use, that I really, really rely on, is asking for help. I was not very good at it, and I'm getting better thanks to my village. I talk about my village all the time because I'm so, so grateful for the people that are around me. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So in the entrepreneurial journey, I'm particularly balancing a lot of moving parts. I am the marketing person. I am the operations and the finance person. I now have a bookkeeper, which is fantastic. But there are some things that I need support with. Even when I have help from an assistant, I still need to get things together to get it over to them. So one of the things I've been doing is just making a list of everything that I need. What do I need to talk about? Who do I need to talk to? And I'll give you an example. If you're watching this on YouTube, so you're going to be able to see my list over here that I kind of keep on the things that I need to do. But also, if you're listening in, I just shared a list. It's just a blank piece of paper that I scribble on. I got that idea from a colleague a few years ago, and she would just write down, just brain dump everything and think about what she needs to do And now I use the same strategy. Brain dump everything. I love to use multiple colors. I love markers and pens and write it down. Even if my Asana has it digitally, I need to see it, think through it, visualize it. And then I look at the list and then I go back through it and see, well, who could help me with certain things? Because it's not that people don't want to help you. Sometimes they don't know what you need and they don't know how they could possibly help, but they are still willing to help. And especially if it's people that you know, then you know that you can lean into certain expertise. And so for me, I remember one project I was working on, I needed some extra help, but couldn't immediately afford the assisting role for it. And my sister actually was able to jump in and help me with some of the administrative things that I needed support for there. Or when we are going through podcasting right now, it has been a village size effort. Even learning about what equipment to use. I spoke to so many folks that had podcasts and asked them, how do you do it? What kind of equipment are you using? And I even had a colleague who went as far as writing down an entire list of what she used, how she did it. Shout out to you, Trudy. She has an incredible podcast, which I'll link in the show notes. But she wrote everything down and I got the same microphone she does. And then when it came to actually publishing the podcast, learning what kind of tools to use, my brother is a sound engineer. So that is his gift. And so I talked to him and he created a custom sound for me. So the sound you heard at the beginning of the podcast and what you're going to hear at the end is made by him. So he created that for me. And not only did he do that, he helped me edit my first trailer. So if you love the sound quality of the trailer of the podcast, that was him. And then not only that, because he wants to help me figure out all the techie things and I'm researching and doing the most, he recorded a tutorial video for me so that anytime I forget what we went through when we were sitting down and reviewing the equipment, the software, he recorded it so I can play it at any time and also save him a few phone calls. Let's be real, save him a few phone calls, but I have that reference video and I hope that'll be useful to someone else as well if they come and ask me about my podcasting journey. And then there's other ways of helping. That is, I'm very fortunate to have my parents live close by. So when I need some help with the kids, my mom is amazing at that. Or if we're hosting something, my mom is one of those super traditional African moms. So if she comes and we've hosted something, she's going to do the dishes. I saw a sign today and I was laughing with her. I had her on video call and it said, "Blessed are those who do my dishes." And that is my mother. And she did that. She does that out of love. It's just a natural thing that she does. And so whether she's helping with the kids or she's helping to clean up after hosting something, it is so incredibly helpful. I mean, I could name a whole list, but there's so many people that have stepped in to help. My first website as a business owner was created by a very talented creative friend of mine. She's actually going to be a guest. Shout out to you, Sid. She's going to be a guest. And you're going to hear about her journey and her story. But she created that for me because she said, "Hey, I'm not sure how I can help you, but I'm really, really good at creating websites. And I want to help create your first website. Here are all the things I need from you. And then once you give that back to me, we're going to talk through all of those components and I'm going to bring your vision to life." And that is how you do it. So if that means for you returning to the workforce, you need that kind of help. Ask for it. Ask for it from whoever you can. Sometimes if you're far away from family, that might mean you might exchange some time for that help. And so if that is finding daycare or care options, which can be expensive. So looking at home daycares, looking at, if you're working from home, maybe you have a nanny or a mother's helper. We have some great neighbors and our neighbors have been wonderful about if I need a couple of hours or something like that. I can always rely on my neighbor's daughters. They're really fantastic. So if there's somebody you can hire to come and just help you get through the day. You know, you have some big meetings that are coming up, and you'll navigate nap time from being that pro stay at home mom, but you're going to need a little bit of extra help to manage things. Then ask for that help if your partner is really good at something. So I think you get the drift at this point. You get the gist of where I'm going. Ask for help and continue to ask for it. Find ways you can also help yourself and help to make things easier for yourself. And that leads me into my third point, which honestly, candidly, I'm still working on. So for me, it's setting intentional routines for the season that I'm in. I am a person who likes, once I've written down my papers and I've jotted down everything that matters to me, I'm thinking about, well, this is how it should work. It's in the calendar this way, so this is how it should generally work. However, I know that in various seasons where my husband might be a little bit busier at work, I need to have pre-prepared meals because he's going to be on a routine when he's kind of coming in and out, just wants access to food in the fridge, might not have time to make it for himself. So I just want to make sure that's available. When the kids come home from school, they want a secondary snack or meal that I need to have ready for them as well. But outside of that too, whether it's a cleaning routine that I need to have set up at home or certain things that at work I need to schedule out so that they can continue to go out. So if that means I'm batch recording episodes of the podcast or I'm scheduling things, my favorite tool, y'all, if you are not using delayed delivery on your emails, you need to start. I loved it in Outlook. I love it even more in Gmail. But I'll schedule something. If I'm up really late, I'll schedule it that night to go out the next morning so that I'm getting the kids ready for school, but that email is going out. Work is still going out, but I'm not necessarily there to do what I need to do because it's already done. Or if I'm setting up a certain routine that every couple of weeks I'm scheduling whatever kind of quarterly catch-ups I need, or I know that I'm coming into a certain client project and I'm going to need more of the team to come in. So the way that I work a lot in my business is I have a trusted team of consultants that come in on a project basis as I need them. It keeps the team really lean, and there's only very few people I actually keep on hand on a retainer basis or on a regular basis. But for the most part, the team comes in, we get the project done, we get everything around it cleaned up, and then they go about their merry way. I anticipate that's going to shift really soon as the client load starts to increase. But for right now, I really just love being able to run a really lean team. So again, that means setting up a routine or schedule of when these people are going to be available to connect and when I need to reach out about certain things. So that's where it is. It's important to set those routines for the season that you are in, or when kids are out of school and things are getting scheduled, but then I know I'm really speaking specifically to this user submitted question and fellow mamas like me, but you can absolutely apply this if you don't have kids and you are managing your schedule a little bit differently. These things still apply. For as long as you're a human, you need to have grace for yourself and grace with others. For as long as you're a human, you need to ask for help. For as long as you are a human, you need to set routines for the season that you are in. That is so, so valuable, and it makes things that much easier for you. So like I said, that third thing, that routine thing, I am still working on it. And it changes and shifts, and I just, increase my awareness around that. But those are the things I just really wanted to share and encourage our listener who contributed that question and is excited to return to the workforce, or rather, should I say nervous and excited about returning to the workforce, but also managing what that looks like. And I'm starting to get connected with folks that are also fellow moms that that are recently kind of finding me through various platforms that are also fellow moms, business owners. So this episode is dedicated to you. Shout out to you and doing the thing. I am so proud of us. I'm excited for us. And I'm excited for the futures that we are building for ourselves, for our families, for just in the way that it's going to really just innovate what's next, right? It's going to bring some really amazing results, and I'm so grateful for that. So what did you think? I want to know if somebody has commented about how they don't know how you're doing it, or maybe called you some kind of superhuman. What has your response been? I'm very curious about that. And what are your tips? Give us a couple of tips in the comments about how you navigate wellness in motherhood. If you're not a mom, how do you navigate wellness in life in general? How do you navigate wellness as a human? I would love to know. Share it. If we have not already connected, you can find me on LinkedIn under Nicole Guanzura. Let me know what you thought. Leave us a review right here on the podcast, which is available on YouTube, on Spotify, as well as on Apple Podcasts. Until the next time, stay well, take care, and I'm so excited to connect with you next Wednesday.